Hello, Grey Wolves. It is the 58th anniversary of Gary Tasteman's death in the Holland Tunnel, so we're bringing you all the hits. This is Chapo Rockabilly Hour, a special hour of Rockabilly retrospective, Rockabilly lifestyle, taking out a switchblade knife at a bar, getting thrown out of a bar for calling people a racial slur that hasn't been used since 1958. All your favorite hits. Rest in peace, Gary. I wish I could have flown into the tunnel with you.
Wait. Hold on, Hepcats and Greasers. We've got a call on our special Eddie and the Cruisers hotline. What's this? It's coming all the way from Mars? Open that call. Hello. You're online.
Hey, how are you guys doing? It's just nice to be talking. Just thought I'd pop in and have a little chat with you guys. Rockabilly, Chapo, you know. It's going to be fun.
Oh, my God. It's the king of Rockabilly.
It's the Rockabilly king himself, Elon Musk. Elon.
Yeah, sure. Rockabilly all the way to Mars, the asteroid belt, wherever we happen to overshoot our mission to, you know?
Elon, so great to hear from you. How are things going?
It's great. Yeah, I've been a big fan for a while. It's great to just call in. So cool. You know, I'm hoping maybe I could get the rights to some of your Rockabilly numbers to put over my 48-hour rocket missions to the planets in our solar system for when we do the live stream. Because we're going to be shooting a lot of different Tesla models in outer space pretty soon. It's going to be real cool.
I mean, that was a huge success. That the Falcon Heavy X rocket launch that you just did. That was Hepcat to the max.
It was so fantastic, and it was great. You know, people said, oh, you shot a dummy into space inside of a Tesla, and, you know, a lot of people thought that, but I think I can reveal now it was actually Melinda Gates. And so you will have seen a lot less from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation because they were a little bit of our rivals, you know, and so we just shot one of them into space, and now Bill is playing along. He's playing along because he wants Melinda back. And we're so excited, guys. You know, I was just at South by Southwest. I was just like seeing some of the apps. I was giving a lot of talks, pumping up some of my companies while talking about my other companies in just a delicate way enough that we could, you know, avoid any kind of, illegality as far as the SEC would be involved, you know, using SpaceX to pump up Tesla. But of course, we are very excited. We're very excited about using not only Teslas, but any kind of luxury car for our future scientific achievements. Just luxury items in general. I think we're going to take a Chevy Volt and we're going to drill it into the center of the earth. And I think that's going to be a real scientific achievement. It's fantastic. I think we're going to take a Bitcoin and we're going to shoot it at Jupiter for no reason at all and just see what happens.
You say these words and I feel like my spirit is soaring. I'm just thinking of like all the great things we can do as a species.
If your spirit is soaring now, I'm going to challenge you to pay attention when we turn on the Elon Musk Bitcoin ray and we aim it at Jupiter. It's going to be a lot like Cobra Commander, and we're going to carve a Bitcoin logo in the surface of Jupiter, right where the red spot is. It's going to be great.
That is so beautiful.
You're giving me reason to believe in the future again.
Yeah.
This is so epic.
The future, and also I'm just really inspired by 2001 Space Odyssey, the work of Stanley Kubrick, and I think it's within our lifetimes, within 20 years, we're going to have automated space flights that are run by nefarious, malevolent robots that are going to kill most of the crew. And we're going to do that so that, the higher class people, the people of the future, the star children like me, like the people I select, the billionaires and the ultimate elite that I select, we're going to go to the stars. And we're going to, Earth is done. Earth is jejune. And we are going to redo the whole Earth on Mars. And we're going to do it right. I've always wanted since I was a little kid. You know, I'm from South Africa, and they did a lot of things wrong. And I think this time you've got to have a system where there's, a caste system, an upper class and a lower class, but it should not be done the same way that we used to. Not along racial lines. We should do it on planetary lines, where those of us who go to Mars will rule over the survivors on Earth. And I think we're there, and there's nothing that can be done to stop it.
I would love to be among the chosen, the Elohim.
Everybody would love to be, but we're already booked up. We really have to have a falling out with one of our billionaire pals to get anybody else on the list. So you're welcome to get on the standby list. But I can warn you, the people on the standby list are probably going to be the ones that suffer the most on the early journeys. you guys have flirted with socialism, so that probably is going to cut you out from the future that I'm envisioning. But look, I have other companies because I've got the Boring Company. We're interested in building a completely different subway system that just goes from Beverly Hills to the Upper East Side across the country to get there in 2 minutes. And it's going to make things so wonderful. It's going to make things so wonderful for people who don't really need it. 200-year lifespan. You'll never have to worry about someone asking you for money because money will be outlawed. We won't need it anymore because we won't have anyone to keep it away from.
It's just like it really. I'm in awe of again what we could achieve as a species if only we let the great minds and great men amongst us just dream. Imagine without limits.
That's true. Which one is that? Who's talking? Which one is this? Which one of you is talking?
This is Will, Mr. Musk.
Okay, I think I like what you're saying so much, and really I'd like to hire you away from the Chapo if I can. If I could just throw a pile of Ethereum at you and hire you away.
Done and done. That is.
Yes, you can hop on a Tesla. We'll just launch it across the continent, and it'll land here in Hawthorne.
Incinerating on re-entry into the atmosphere in my Tesla fired by a Musk cannon across country would be a small price to pay to join the star children of the future.
That's the attitude. And I like the way you're saying it. I like the way you're phrasing it. I think that you have a place. If you can look your friends in the eyes and go, I wouldn't mind having you vaporized. I have a higher calling. Then that's the stuff that we need at SpaceX.
Daddy-O's, I'm saying bye-bye.
Mr. Musk, do you have any need for any organs? Is that a way that someone could maybe get in on the ground floor here? They might not necessarily have a lot of money, but they have a few extraneous organs that other people, maybe people who you would want to send up into space, would need?
Sure, especially because we're going to have a different regime of morality when we have a Martian colony, when we're out, when we have our vacation homes on the moons of Neptune. We're going to have a completely different morality. And yes, organs we're going to use not even for replacing organs in the superhumans and the supermen, but we are also going to, we're going to have robots for that, of course. We're going to have robotic livers. We're going to have robotic assholes that last 500 years in our bodies. But we're interested in organ harvesting, of course, just for food because, it lasts longer. And there's going to be some people who have a problem. I don't want to eat people. I don't want to eat people. So that food might last longer for those of us that are okay with eating people. So yeah, sure, we can deep freeze you and put some paprika on, maybe some cinnamon, rub, some nice barbecue sauce, and just keep it frozen like a little chicken stock. Was that Mr. Chrisman? Was that
yes.
Mr. Chrisman?
Yes, Chrisman. It would be an honor to be eaten.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind boiling you down into a chicken bouillon cube, a human bouillon cube. That might be great.
I would love to pass through your colon and fertilize the grounds of the terraform.
My robotic colon. Robotic colon. Don't leave that part out. Yeah, you guys, it's been great talking to you, and it's just, I'm in positive spirits, and people would say, hey, you shouldn't give away what you're going to do, but there's nothing you can do to stop it.
You, sir, are the most epic human being who has ever lived.
Thanks. Yeah, I believe that too. And why? It's because I see Mars, and I see an aspirational goal, a star that's red that we can get to, that's close, that we can terraform in ways that the laws constrict us currently on Earth. And it's red. It's an aspirational color. It's red. It's almost telling us to get here through blood. And that's what we're going to be doing.
Elon Musk, thank you so much for gracing us with your time.
Ad astra per sangram. That's my motto. To the stars through blood.
Elon Musk, thank you so much. All right, we are back. Thanks again to Epic Mars Daddy, Elon Musk. For,
cool. Cannot wait to donate my bones to his glory.
He's captured our imagination and our sense of possibility like few other men have.
Our sense of possibility of leaving all of humanity to boil in burning seawaters.
Well,
Mars.
Let's kick off the show properly. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. It's the wearing of the
fucking
green.
gobshites.
So for St. Patrick's Day, we got a great St. Patrick's Day guest for you. It's Shuja Haider.
Ah, there he is, Shuja Haider. There's the man himself.
I'm Irish, so I'm glad to be here to represent.
We're having a great crack here with Shuja Haider.
We will be talking about Shuja, about America's first slaves.
Guys, we have a lot of fun on a lot of these episodes. You know, we have some, we call them dessert episodes, where maybe we talk about a movie or a show we've seen, or we read a stupid book. This is one of those vegetables episodes. We're going to be talking
Potatoes.
about the plight, the civil rights struggle of really the last 500 years, the Irish.
The greatest vegetable of all, the potato.
Yeah.
The most glorious one.
Irish people, even in 2018, even with Donald Trump as president, they cannot go into bars and just hurl shot glasses on the ground and scream at each other. They can't wear flat-brimmed NFL caps, just the ones that say NFL on them, and waffle tees. They're thrown out of bars, a culture they created, stolen by, I guess, Germans.
It doesn't matter how many pots of gold I bring in. You tell me my money's not good enough.
How can you tell me that we've got equal rights in this country when the Patriots did not win the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah. Even, you know, America loves rap, the form of music Irish people invented by
Yes, it
people
was
like
House of Paid. House of Paid invented
Yeah, Everlast.
rap music in 1994.
people like Everlast and Tom McDonald, but then they just give it to other people, like non-Irish people, like I guess Yellow Wolf, and it's a, you know, everyone likes to celebrate, everyone likes to watch, you know, the biggest movie sensation of the last few years, Four Brothers, of course, big Irish film, but when it comes down to it, they don't believe they're equal citizens. So it's time for us to roll up our sleeves and do the work for the Irish.
Yeah, everyone today who's puking into a gutter or starting a fight with their cousin, my culture is not your costume.
Look, you don't know the real Irish experience unless you wake up every day, go to the Blarney Stone recreation in your house, kiss it, watch The Departed, listen to the Dropkick Murphys, get into a shirtless shoving match with your stepdad about who gets to drive the Chevy Caprice this weekend, like 3 memes about how cops are treated unfairly on Facebook, make a point about how the TV show, like just any TV show with black people, there should be white people in it.
I just want to say that green lives matter.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what it really comes down to.
I hope at the end of the show we can end it with the Sons of Anarchy theme from the season they went to Ireland.
That's right.
The best Sons of Anarchy episodes is the ones where they're in Ireland.
Absolute best.
No, we got Shuja on for our St. Patrick's Day episode. Long awaited. We are going to be discussing the 12 rules for life
I'm hoping that we can bury this fucking
once and for all.
tedious wad for
Yeah.
all of time and never have to talk about it
Shuja
again.
is going to assist
until he's president of Onan. He becomes the united fucking god king of North American Empire.
He's going to beat Justin Trudeau. Like, he's going to be prime minister.
Get
of
into
Canada.
the salt mines, bucko.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I hope Shuja can assist us here, and as Matt said, once and for all, finally washing our hands of this incredibly tedious.
I'm going to do what I
boring-
can. I cleaned my room.
Yep.
I cleaned Virgil Texas's room.
Well, yeah. Before we dive into Jordan Peterson, I do have to bring up the fact that you may or may not know, Shuja, you had a sort of a disaster befall you recently.
My house burned down. Yeah,
Your fucking house burned down.
I mean, I don't know if Jordan Peterson was involved, but the house did burn
Shuja,
down.
did you know that you and Felix are actually a member of the arson community, arson victims
Yes.
community?
I didn't see you at the last meeting.
I kind of have my own organization.
This is O'Leary's cow, innocent, by the way.
Felix, your house burned down when you were quite young,
Yeah.
and it's why you are the way you are.
So, yeah, if you're ever considering yelling at me for anything, yeah, my house burned down when I was 4. No one got hurt except for my sense of safety. So anytime you're like, you know, you have a politics podcast, you should follow the news. No, I don't. I have PTSD that flares up sometimes, and it causes me to not read or catch up with anything, only play Fortnite and watch Everyday Struggle on Complex, not know anything that's going on in the world, not really care. Still say a lot of slurs, but that's because one crucial night of sleep in 1994 was interrupted for me. So now you know the rest of the story. Shuja, you're welcome to the community.
Thank you.
You will also be displaying these symptoms soon. So,
It's already starting.
Lil Yachty is coming out with Lil Boat 2. What do you think?
I can't wait.
All right. You're
But,
really taking to this well.
So you've been made homeless by fire, mankind's oldest enemy.
I was homeless. Yeah, I was wandering. I was lost and in a heartless world. And then one generous man took me in, and that was Virgil, Texas.
You were walking the streets of Philadelphia.
He didn't actually take me in. He's not there.
Well, that's
okay.
the funny
Well,
thing.
this is-
So
yeah,
last week,
bragging about it.
before because he left, he's in LA already, and he will meet him there. He was bragging to us about his incredible act of altruism that he was letting you stay in his house after he had left it. And it's like, dude, that's a house sitter.
I just want to say that we're going to get to one of the rules is that you got to clean your room. And Virgil, Texas, is someone who does not follow this rule. I'll tell you, when I arrived, the weirdest thing is that he loves to drink these like bottles of electrolyte infused water.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's an athlete.
But like he only drinks like 2/3 of the bottle, and then he'll seal it back up and just leave it.
Yes.
So like around the house, I'm finding like dozens of these. And then it was also finding like these little like things that looked like some kind of electronic device that had like human bodily fluids in it.
Oh, it's
and I was
these
like,
little,
is he a
like, e-cig
fucking
containers.
replicant? Yeah,
Yeah,
it turns
yes.
out it's just his vape pen cartridges, which are scattered around every fucking corner.
No, the water thing is so true. Every time he comes with a gigantic bottle of water, he'll take like a couple of sips out of it and be like, oh, too cold. This is too tart for me. And then forget about it, leave it there. But he leaves it there because he wants to have a bottle of water close at hand no matter where he is at any moment. But he likes that old, warm water taste.
It's finely aged water. You gotta let it breathe.
mellow.
You gotta let it. Yeah.
That's on
The
his
real
list
connoisseurs.
of 12 rules for life. Is let it mellow.
Could you not get me smart water again? I think the molecules are kind of sharper than the other brands of water.
How the hell is he still doing this?
No, he goes
after
with
he was
essential. I think
demonstrably
essential.
owned on the subject of his fake knowledge of water flavors. we have laboratory test results indicating that he does not know the difference between these goddamn water tastes.
Okay, one last thing. So you're house sitting for Virgil. He's letting you do this out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah, what a mensch.
Taking you in.
Yeah, this
in
is the
time of
cleanest
need.
it's ever been right now. After I stayed
Okay.
there one night.
Having you get the mail.
One
presumably.
last detail I would love for you to share with our listeners. What was on Virgil's bed when you first arrived?
Okay, on Virgil's bed was some kind of creature that when I picked it up, it came alive and started singing at me. And it had a friend too. I don't know what the fuck it was.
It's a porg.
That's a
It's
porg.
Virgil's porg.
Haven't you seen?
I think the other one was an angry bird.
Yeah.
The
No,
other
it's-
animal is some Overwatch
It's an
creature.
Overwatch sidekick. I wish I didn't fucking know this, but it is one of the fucking characters on Overwatch has a bird sidekick, but the one that talks is a porg.
And he sent us the picture as he was leaving, and he literally tucked them into bed.
He did, yes. He didn't put sheets on the bed, but he tucked them in the bed.
Well, they both have fur. They don't need
Exactly.
sheets.
Yeah.
So you're making yourself at home. You're in the Porg Palace again. Thanks to Virgil.
I've been welcomed.
Thanks to Virgil for his charity. He as Matt said, he went ahead to LA. We're meeting him there, but he wanted to spend some time with his mother, Alexis. Okay. Let's get down to business here. Let's get down to the 12 rules for life. If you've listened to the show, we've talked about Jordan Peterson before. I'm sure you're familiar with him. I don't think he needs much introduction.
Can I just say, there was an article in the LA Times recently about him that talked about him as being, because you guys, he's the dark professor.
Yeah.
But he has been referred to as a member of what this article called the intellectual dark web.
Yes.
Did you see this?
Yes. This is like, I think it's Dave Rubin has self-christened him, Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson, and I don't know, fucking
Darkwing Duck?
Weinstein, yeah.
Darkwing Duck or something.
Yeah.
Wait,
I don't
Harvey
know.
Weinstein's on the intellectual dark web?
Absolutely,
Wow,
yeah.
it really is dark.
Yeah.
I hate it when the FBI...
Frank from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
The thing is, I don't know if these guys know that the dark web is where like you download child porn and hire hitmen and like they're identifying their like intellectual movement with it.
I'm glad you brought that up, the intellectual dark web, right? Like, and Molyneux or all these guys, but like Peterson in particular, I think is the perfect avatar of this because it's like, ooh, he's dark and dangerous. Like these controversial ideas he's putting out there. Ooh, like he's just too dark and intelligent. The fundamental fact about him overall, but all of these guys, is how unbearably tedious and vacuous their actual thoughts and writing are.
Okay, let me tell you.
Far from being dangerous, it's only dangerous if you're trying to fucking stay awake or make sense of any of it.
I did read the book, and let me tell you, it is basically a combination of like The Secret and the bell curve. It's like if you're in the market for some self-help bullshit with all the kind of narcissism and navel gazing and mysticism that implies, but there wasn't enough social Darwinism in it for you, this is the book for you. Don't just respect yourself, have contempt for others.
Perfect
contribution it makes.
Oh, that's what I believe in.
Yeah.
So to start things off, like the main thing I was curious about this book, it's like it's a tome, it's a doorstop, this thing, and it's a genuine hit in the publishing.
Yeah,
world,
it was number one on Amazon for a while.
Yeah,
the reviews were raves. I think it's a unanimously 5-star rated book, except I wrote a review that was 1 star. That I asked people like if they found it helpful to upvote it, and for like a couple of hours, it was the second most helpful review on there. It said, "My man has literally no idea what he's talking about."
And you were a confirmed purchaser. You weren't just.
I was a confirmed purchaser.
I
read the book, and the Jordan Peterson fans mounted a campaign to get it taken down.
Yeah.
Wow. Can't handle
What happened
free
in the
speech.
marketplace of ideas?
Yeah.
Well, that's
safe
the other
space,
thing.
my
Is,
friends.
I mean, of course, he is like all these people. Embraced and taken up the mantle of free speech and the open exchange of ideas in civil society, but both him and his fans are just about the most thin-skinned dorks and reactionaries imaginable. Who, again, like if you make fun of Peterson or even just discuss him in any way that short of absolute reverence, will throw a fit and again just take you on the road to pedantry.
The speech thing is something they get really outrageously pedantic about, because like he's famous because he said he wouldn't call trans students by their preferred pronouns. And like every time he's pressed on that, he says, "I didn't say that. I said I wouldn't call them by any pronouns that were dictated by law." So like what the fuck are you going to call them? Like, I mean, he's totally willing to obfuscate what he's actually going to say in service of some abstraction.
Well, that's a very good. I mean, this is sort of like his ruse, and I think it speaks a lot to his popularity. Like, for instance, in all of these interview clips of his that have sort of gone viral, I'm sure you've seen them. He genuinely does get the better of the people who are interviewing him most of the time, because they're largely unprepared, and they do the standard sort of liberal thing where they're like, "You don't really believe this, do you?" I mean, we've talked about this before. And then he does a thing where he just speaks really belligerently and quickly, and it just sort of like plows right over them.
He throws in like words about statistics that like most people don't know.
However, what he does is like there was a famous one, the one that a lot of people shared. It's like I think Vice was interviewing him, and he was talking about like sexual harassment in the workplace, and he was making the point that lipstick, when a woman wears lipstick, the point of lipstick and makeup in general in women to like sort of brighten, redden the cheeks and lips is to convey sexual arousal. It's meant to convey a sort of exaggerated sexual response. So he's saying like when women put on makeup and dress up to go to work, they are signaling their sexuality in a way. So we shouldn't lie to ourselves about what's going on there. And then like the interviewer would be like, we'll just try to pick, like, well, so what does that imply? And he's like, well, I'm not implying anything. I'm just merely acknowledging that. But it's just like he's setting up these sort of like thought experiments and statements that would seem to imply that women are asking to be have their asses pinched just because they wear makeup to work. But one could just as easily say, like, when a man wears a suit, like a blazered tailored jacket is supposed to make your shoulders look wider and give your upper body a sort of nice sense of symmetry and proportion, which is also sexual signaling. So,
I mean, I wasn't going to say anything, Will, but your outfit proves it.
I mean, I'm dressed like a fucking slob right now.
The sweatpants and the slippers.
When you wear track pants, you're daring people to look at the outline of your dick the same way that it goes in the jungle.
Just simply, what does the man wear when he comes to the podcast? He puts on a pair of sweatpants where you see exactly how he's been circumcised.
This kind of gets at his appeal, though, is because he's talking about these taboo subjects, like, and it's exciting for some of his fans that, like, he's talking about the sexuality that's like lying behind seemingly normal situations. Mm-hmm. And they get excited about that, and they just accept whatever mumbo jumbo he has
in a very vague general sense. Of course that's true, but it's just like, what is he implying here? And the thing is, I don't think he really knows what he's trying to imply. I think his fans like pick up on these little cues that resonate with them because it's like exciting and controversial. But I think he very strenuously tries to avoid the implications of any of this because, like I said, I think he's just incredibly tedious.
It's just like when you're a kid and like you have a substitute teacher who like uses mild swear words. And you're like, wow, this guy's cool. He said, what the hell? Like, that's basically how these guys are responding to him, is this kind of like paternal authority figure who's a little on the edge.
Well, for like a lot of reactionaries in the past like few years, I'd say, you can really rip shit up and like get an audience by pointing out how shitty the modern world is. It's fucking terrible. Like, most people that listen to you aren't happy. They're completely unfulfilled by their existences. They have no fulfilling relationships in their life. But for most of them, like for a lot of the alt-right guys, it's like they'll string them along and be like, hey, doesn't Mark Zuckerberg suck? Doesn't this suck? Isn't it fucking stupid that the only avenue of politics is like this sort of cultural consumption in which Marvel movie you see? Isn't this fucking stupid and tawdry? Don't you hate your life? And then they sort of like lose people because every time they all meet up, they look stupid and kill somebody. Or you talk to them long enough, they're like, and the thing that we do about it is we blow up a Home Depot parking lot. But with Jordan Peterson, it's that he just goes into this sort of Sam Harris sort of Evo psych bullshit. And it's not that his fans are like super interested in what he has to say after he points out how shitty modern life is. It's just that, it sounds like something that's smart, and they're mostly hooked by like, my life is shitty.
I think what hooks them also is it's step one is you identify discontent, and that is where a lot of these small, less successful reactionary quote unquote thinkers stall out, is because they really only have a spurious diagnosis. He has an action item, and it is just self-help. It's just it's just take control of your life, bucko, because the life of a sort of underemployed, relatively economically stable middle-class young person is one with basically no supervision, no structure, and that allows you to basically do a thing like game until you wet yourself, because no one will stop you from doing that except for yourself. And he is acknowledging that and saying you have to be the one to actually intervene in your own life. And that's incredibly powerful, either because people literally don't get parented anymore, like parents don't talk to their children about these kind of things, or people grow up so wedded to the rhetoric and communication styles of the internet that nothing is real until they see it online. So their parents can tell them to clean their room all week, and it's just going to go over their head. But when their YouTube friends tell them to clean their room, it actually resonates. I'm not sure which it is. I'm not one of these guys.
So there was that the most famous interview he did was the one on the BBC with Kathy Newman, and there was that part when I think she said something about how like, well, most Fortune 500 CEOs are men. It's very exclusionary. There aren't a lot of women on there. And he said something like, well, yeah, most men aren't Fortune 500 CEOs either. And like, that's true. And if you're not going to be able to like offer a critique of a structure that has extremely wealthy people and extremely, disadvantaged people, you're going to get caught in places like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he seems so, like he's the reasonable one.
That's why he's not going to go away, is because the other, so like, yeah, there are two main like dominant cultural forces, like the reactionary one and the liberal one. The liberal one can't point to the world, the culture it's created, and go, actually, you love it. It's great. They just can't.
America is already great.
So, Jordan Peterson's going to be around like forever until, I don't know, he starts a cult, or he finally does like he intersects a mass suicide with Halley's Comet at the right time. I don't know. But yeah, he's not going away because they have no answer to him.
Because he offers a structural critique. And it's wrong, but it is, and it's it's gibberish at its heart, but it is one that seeks to offer an explanation. And all cultural conversation on the mainstream is not comprehensive. It's just individual think pieces, right? And individual reactions to specific discrete events, and all coming from this sort of vague cultural liberalism, and which really just has nothing to offer other than the status quo is basically good. We could use some more diversity, but nothing that actually speaks to anyone's real discontent on any level, other than like not seeing enough representation in art or something.
And I think what Peterson does is, like you said, we hooks him because like he hooks the Marx as we've described earlier. But I think, and then what he offers is this kind of Jungian psychoanalytical trick where it's just like you can, with this knowledge that I'm going to impart to you, you can recreate yourself as sort of a character in your own heroic narrative.
Yeah.
That connects with these subconscious, ancient, sort of almost biological truths about humanity. And this is where it gets into the reactionary part, is because all of these truths that, Peterson thinks is unchanging, absolutely true, and any attempt to alter or go outside of them will lead to disaster, are all things like, just hierarchy is natural.
Right.
The traditional family is natural. And like these are like, we need to hew to these things that are all true because they've been true throughout all of human civilization.
This is something that actually like he feuded with Sam Harris about, because, Sam Harris's fans all like requested that he get Jordan Peterson on his podcast. Like, I want my two dads to talk, my Islamophobic dad, my transphobic dad. And so he went on and he just said a bunch of gibberish about archetypes and the collective unconscious. And Sam Harris was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. And everyone was disappointed. And they had this email exchange where Peterson was like talking about slaying dragons and shit.
Yeah. He really loves the slaying the dragon.
Well, that's the thing. Is and these guys, like the Harris fans liking Peterson, I want to know what percentage of these Peterson fans are guys who, until Peterson showed up, would have considered themselves guys who loved logic and reason and thought that those were the ways that you figure out the world. And then this guy shows up with the dragons and the fucking subconscious and this Jungian stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck me up, buddy. And what it shows is that what they don't really care about logic or reason.
Yeah.
These are just a totem because they want to justify traditional hierarchies because they think they belong on the top of them. They think they aren't on the top because evil cultural Marxists have interceded with the truth, changed the culture, undermined their rightful place. And they want to get back on the rightful place. The same way that like the ancient regime before the French Revolution had a natural order. They feel the same way. But the Enlightenment came along, cut all those heads off, and we don't think in terms of divine rule anymore. So we need something to replace the divine right with, and it can only be in a modern context, so it's got to be reason and logic. But if another guy comes along and he has the same hierarchy to defend, but he does a more sparkling job of it, and he's talking about dragons and archetypes, I'll take that. Whatever it is, whatever can justify the hierarchy is what matters.
Matt, you know who else had a natural order? Lobsters.
Okay. I want to get into this now because like the book is called 12 Rules for Life. And ever since it came out, it's like, all I want to know, what are the 12 rules? I've actually found someone who just has done all 12
I forgot all of them.
Okay. I'm hoping...
Your life must be fucked up, man.
Since you read
Your house
the book,
is burning down. Your house would still be up there if you followed them.
Rule number 1, never finish a bottle of water.
If you have water out in your home, if there's a fire, you can put it out quickly.
This is a real quote from Peterson's first book, Maps of Meaning. Chaos.
That's my favorite Halo Combat Evolved mission.
Do the voice, Will.
Chaos is what extends eternally and without limit, beyond the boundaries of all states, all ideas, and all disciplines. It's the foreigner, the stranger, the member of another gang, the rustle in the bushes, the hidden anger of your mother.
Okay.
And then he goes,
order. No, he goes, chaos is symbolically associated with the feminine. Order, by contrast, is explored territory. That's the hundreds of millions of years of hierarchy of place, position, and authority. That's the structure of society. And this is again all this dragon bullshit.
Well-
so I'm just going to say here, chaos is the fire that burns down Shuja's house.
That's right.
Order is the porg in Virgil's.
And the water, yeah. Listen, here's the way he puts that in the new book, which is full of like that type of stuff about, you know, the balance of order and chaos in the world. He says, order and chaos are the yang and yin of the famous Taoist symbol. Two serpents head to tail. Order is the white masculine serpent. Chaos, its black feminine counterpart.
What?
Now,
What serpents?
I don't think you've got to be a Freudian to look at white masculine serpent and draw some kind of conclusion about what he's motivated.
This is, this is logical and reasonable. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This is logic. This is reason.
By the way, check out my new website, whited.com. New collaboration with Jordan Peterson. We're logical men.
Look at
the
okay,
black women of
Shuja,
chaos.
Have you seen this? Look at the fucking diagrams that
I've
are
seen
in his
them.
first book. It's like literally Henry.
There's the fucking
Yeah, it's
serpent
Henry
right
Darger.
there.
It's Henry Darger
Yeah.
shit. This is like the diary of a madman, where it's just like you're just like linking all these things. This circle represents the kingdom of order. This circle represents the dragon of chaos. Between it is masculine and female truth belief energies. It's like
That's I fucking love logic and reason.
These are like
This
those,
is the Enlightenment.
These are like those Hotep memes where it's like sex, spirituality, energy exchange. It's like two people fucking, but they're writing books on each
This
other.
motherfucker claims that he is defending the Enlightenment tradition with this shit. He keeps saying that that cultural neo-Marxists are undermining the Enlightenment. And this is what he is calling the Enlightenment, is this insane gibberish from his head about the chaotic female
I don't know if he could
fanged
define the
vagina.
Enlightenment. Like,
No.
he has no idea what these philosophical schools that he's constantly referring to actually are, who was part of them, what they represent.
The Enlightenment was, I've never studied modern European history, only watched YouTube. The Enlightenment was a time when all the guys of Europe, all our old friends, George Washington, Francis Epic Bacon, all of them got together and they said, why don't we have an exchange of free speech and logic called YouTube, which has been around for 300 years.
Well, what the Enlightenment was people using logic and reason and observable reality to challenge an unjust hierarchy, the society of order, and saying that this shouldn't exist, and being answered by, no, it's always been, and God has ordained it. And now this guy, under the guise of that Enlightenment, because it is such a penetrating and powerful idea that has persisted in the West since its inception, he's going to use that term to defend that same fucking hierarchy, and he's just replaced, Hobbes's divine, constituted God King with a serpent sucking its own dick.
I want to include this part. Shout out to Nathan Robinson, who did a great takedown of Peterson recently in This Week in Current Affairs. This was amazing, though. In Peterson's first book, he includes an epigraph that is a letter to his father, and I'm just going to read this here. I don't know, Dad, but I think I've discovered something that no one else has any idea about, and I'm not sure I can do it justice. Its scope is so broad.
Okay, you know how so often you jerk off with your right hand? What if you put your left hand upside down? I sat on my hand, and it was like I didn't know it. It was like it was a stranger.
It was chaos.
He goes, its scope is so broad that I can see only parts of it clearly at one time, and it is exceedingly difficult to set down comprehensively in writing. Yeah, no shit. Anyways, I'm glad you and Mom are doing well. Thank you for doing my income tax returns.
Oh, income taxes are easy, you professor bitch. Now I didn't used to give a shit about this guy. Now I'm mad.
I was gonna say,
I have some rules for you. You have to you don't do online banking. It's easier than any time in human history to keep track of your expenses, bucko.
Felix, when I read his letter to his dad, this struck me as sort of like a miniaturized version of the 8,000-page Nausgard novel, where it's just a letter to my father.
He's such a poor man's Nausgard. Nausgard his book about cleaning his room, that's just one book in a 50 volume entry about his first 12 years on this
That
planet.
letter honestly sounded like an excerpt from Confederacy of Dunstan. That's some Ignatius J. Riley shit. I'm on the edge of something, Mother. Father, I'm on the edge of something. I can't even comprehend it.
I'm edging, Dad.
Okay. I keep talking about the rules. I want to know.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. I want to go through these. New rule. Okay, these are Jordan Peterson's 12 new rules to fight the chaos.
Fight the chaos, which he has said is female. He is telling his legion of incel dork fans that women are terrifying other that must be tamed. But that's logic and reason.
Homeboy.
That's not a fucking graph that he made with human shit on the side of a wall.
You can tell from lipstick.
Yep.
No,
Put-
but-
you need to
homeboy, you need to put your finger on and above the G spot, play the clit like a swizzle stick flute, and you need to give chaos a triple-digit orgasm.
Matt, now you say that like he's representing the feminine represents like the dark bottomless abyss of chaos, and men represent the light of reason and order. And you would say, well, that's a fairly misogynist, like pseudo philosophical drivel. And then I think he would point out that
No, you misunderstand me. I'm saying we need order and chaos.
But he wants
It's
to fight it, though.
It's about the synthesis.
It says
of
fight,
both.
though.
Well, let's
Fight.
hear these rules,
He's
man.
not saying synthesize the chaos.
Well, you
fight
know,
the chaos.
sometimes
The word is fight. That fucking Marcus Lapon guy, he knew
Okay.
how to fight the chaos.
All right, so I keep delaying this. Here are the 12 rules. Rule number 1: stand up straight with your shoulders back.
Okay.
Shuja, do you remember this, and can you explain this one?
Okay, for one thing, the role model he wants you to emulate when you stand up straight with your shoulders back is literally lobsters.
Yeah.
They don't do-
This
they
is
don't-
a famous. This is his famous.
But they
mascot.
don't have. They don't
It's
stand
not
up at
like
all.
Paul Bunyan or
You're being
something.
pedantic,
It's
But
Matt.
they
lobsters.
don't. But they don't stand up though.
You're being pedantic. No,
They don't have
Okay,
legs
listen,
as we would imagine them.
I actually I've bookmarked an excerpt in my dog-eared copy of the book here, where he talks about the lobsters that I can just read to you what he says.
Yep. Yes, please share.
Okay, lobsters have more in common with you than you might think, particularly when you are feeling crabby. Ha ha.
That is not a pun. You
That sucks so bad. They're not even. That's not even the right animal.
Lobsters
That's
live.
terrible.
Lobsters live on the ocean floor.
Just like you.
They need a home base down there, a range within which they hunt for prey and scavenge around for stray edible bits and pieces of whatever
like me.
rains down from the continual chaos of carnage and death far above.
Is this about Virgil's
sounds-
apartment again?
That
They want somewhere secure where the hunting and gathering is good. They want a home.
So this is in the this is the basement when your mom is hucking beef
Right,
jerky
you're just
down
trying
at
to play
you.
video games and the carnage of mom and dad upstairs.
Yeah.
Order and
in-
chaos
in-
fighting
in
each
the
other. I hate when
parental
order and
bedroom.
chaos fight
Yeah.
each other.
Why
I have to
why
spend
is dad
weekend-
wrestling mom?
I have to spend weekends with order. It kind of sucks.
Yo, hold on, this guy's
what I-
actually a genius because you know what they call lobster cages? Bedrooms.
Really?
Yes.
Why do they call it?
All right, well, listen, this can present a problem since there are many lobsters. What if two of them occupy the same territory at the bottom of the ocean at the same time and both want to live there? What if there are hundreds of lobsters all trying to make a living and raise a family in the same crowded patch of sand and refuse?
He's thinking of SpongeBob.
Yeah,
My man loves cartoons. He's just doing SpongeBob memes.
Fucking lobster goes to work every day, clocks in, clocks out. All right. Other creatures have this problem too. When songbirds come north in the spring, for example, they engage in ferocious territorial disputes. The songs they sing, so peaceful and beautiful to human ears, are siren calls and cries of domination. A brilliantly musical
Right,
bird
Herzog.
is a small warrior proclaiming his sovereignty.
I'm so sick of these birds that only sing about bitches and hoes.
So listen, what happens next in the book is that he tells this story about how when he was a kid, he got a tape recorder and he made a recording of a songbird, and then he played it back to the songbird, and the songbird attacked him. Okay,
He's like fucking Kez. Oh my
okay.
god.
So then he brings it back around. Now, wrens and lobsters are very different. Lobsters do not fly, sing, or perch in trees.
Whoa! Whoa!
citation
whoa.
needed, motherfucker.
No, I'm sorry, Shuja. We have to censor this guy. This is too dangerous. This is more important than the First Amendment. We've got to stop this book from being read.
Wrens have feathers, not hard shells. Wrens can't breathe underwater and are seldom
I've
served.
tried to make them.
And they are seldom served with butter. However, they are also similar in important ways. Both are obsessed with status and position, for example, like a great many creatures. The Norwegian zoologist and comparative psychologist, and I can't say this guy's fucking name, observed
Just call him
back-
Nausgaard.
Yeah, it's Nausgaard. Every man
Carl
in Norway is
Knausgaard.
Nausgaard, yeah.
As Carl Knausgaard said back in 1921, even common barnyard chickens establish a pecking order. Listen, the determination of who's who in the chicken world has important implications for each individual bird's survival, particularly in times of scarcity. The birds that always have priority to access to whatever food is sprinkled out in the yard in the morning are the celebrity chickens. After them come the second stringers, the hangers-on, and the wannabes. Then the third-rate chickens have their turn, and so on, down to the bedraggled, partially feathered, and badly pecked wretches who occupy the lowest, untouchable stratum of the chicken hierarchy.
Those guys are such
Man,
pussies.
where'd the lobsters go? What the fuck?
Okay, what he's doing here is he's employing
He's having a stroke.
he's
What is
yeah.
he doing here?
I'll never forget when Mother stopped me from testing wrens breathing underwater.
This is postmodernism.
Yeah, okay. What he's doing here with all the lobster and chicken shit is what he's doing is he's saying in nature there are these fairly ruthless hierarchies that govern, who passes on their genes, and is sorted out largely through, violence and domination and things like that. And he's extrapolating from that like essentially that is the natural way of things, and human society, like you should be like the victorious lobster because the lobster gets physically bigger and struts about when he has cleared his little lobster warren.
This is kind of a downer of a point, but like his lowest stratum of chicken society, he literally calls untouchables.
Yeah.
Which are like literally a caste of
Yes.
people in India
Yeah.
who are severely oppressed.
Well, they
and
have it
disadvantaged.
coming.
Again, and-
they got outpecked.
Bedraggled and partially
Yeah.
feathered.
Well,
Again,
but
like,
even if you want to pick fucking birds, there's just a new study out about how ravens survive through a very complicated system of cooperation rewards based a rewards system based on cooperating with one
The
another.
thing is, Matt, we shouldn't even have to talk about the fucking birds, really,
yes,
like-
because we're human beings.
yeah.
Because we're social animals that fucking have power of speech and have created civilizations.
But again, like this works because it's true in a very banal sense that all animal species, including Homo sapiens, are they are governed by these kind of like nasty, irrational, darker impulses, and we sort ourselves into these pecking orders in human nature. However, the fallacy is that that's because it exists that it's good, and human civilization or society is inalterable as
And
a
that's
result.
inevitable,
Of it, and
yeah.
that's inevitable, right? And again, of course, you could do the opposite and pick out any number of animal behaviors that are completely alien from human beings and be like, oh, we should emulate that as well.
Yeah, we
You
should be
know?
like bonobos and just stick our dicks in each other's faces whenever we have a conflict.
So that's basically the point he's making about lobsters is that
Is you gotta
if you got to be
alpha
confident, you
posture.
got to have alpha posture,
Alpha
and
posture.
sort of project
Don't let anybody
confidence.
take your space on the ocean floor. And if somebody plays back a recording of you in your face, attack that fucker.
And but when he's saying stand up straight with your shoulders back, he means as a young man, the more defeated you are psychologically, like you will reflect that physically and sort of like close your body language up and sort of hunch over. And if you just sort of projected more physical confidence, you would feel more confident generally.
See, and the thing is, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect example of his whole deal. He has an actually useful, if kind of obvious, piece of advice for, your slumped over basement dweller that might not even have thought about posture before this. And he smuggles into it a bunch of insane social Darwinism
Yep.
at the same time.
That's the formula.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he do like a version of the Virgin and Chad meme, but with like a bunch of insane circles all over it? It's like,
Mother chaos.
Okay.
yeah, the Chad is order.
Rule number 2. Treat yourself like you would someone you are responsible for helping.
Okay, I mean that's just nice. That's just like a good attitude to have.
Yeah, that's like self-care.
This is like the guys who they turn 35 and they're like, oh my god, I did 32 hits of acid. And I realized that when you're nice to people, they'll be nice to you. Oh my god, it was like God was talking to me.
I mean, the thing is, he's a psychologist, so he does do therapy with people. So, half of what he says is just really basic ways for people not to hate themselves and hate their lives. And he's just like, let me just throw some
Does he
borderline
smug
racism in there.
All right, rule number 3. Make friends with people who want the best for you.
That's like literally your friends. That kind of is a defining characteristic.
Okay,
of
he has.
I will only befriend people who want to see me die. It always keeps me on my toes, keeps me ready.
But what else is a friend if not a person?
I keep my circle small, yo. Only eat with a few, laugh with many.
Fuck Zizek. I want to see the Peterson versus Amiri
King.
debate.
Yeah, no friends. Don't make friends with anybody.
Yeah.
Friends are for bitches.
I'm not even friends with my fucking wife.
I'm not friends with myself.
There's an anecdote he tells in here at that part about how a childhood friend of his came over to his house and he brought a friend of his.
Oh, I heard about this.
Yeah. Okay. He says it was his friend. I really remember. He was spaced. He was baked. He was stoned out of his gourd. His head in our nice civilized apartment
up on goofballs.
did not easily occupy the same universe. And then he just goes on about how pissed off he was that this guy was in his apartment. And then he takes his friend aside and says, "You need to leave and take this useless bastard with you," or something like that. So this is his attitude towards friendship.
No stoners in my house.
Okay, rule number 4. Compare yourself with who you were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. So that's sort of like he's getting into this.
Eat, pray, love.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I think
that's fine. Like, I mean, it's fine to say like, don't beat yourself up by comparing yourself to others, but he's spins that out into this extreme individualism, right? That not only should you not compare yourself to others, you should cut yourself off from others. You should, kind of elevate yourself above others, like the first chapter.
Wow, I can't. Why would young white men who've been conditioned to think that because they know a lot of things about Star Wars and are good at video games are the natural rulers of the earth, why would they appreciate someone telling them that they should cultivate a delusional sense of self-superiority that doesn't have to come into unseemly contact with other humans that might disabuse them of it?
Again, this rule here is just like very basic, like boring, life advice. However, I can imagine where he's going to go with this is extrapolating it to the political sphere, which is like, I think I've read him say things like,
socialism is not about loving the poor, it's about hating the rich.
And that like, it's this idea that it's envy that makes people, advocate for a more just society or a more adequate distribution of resources.
Yeah, he's constantly saying like, don't blame capitalism, don't blame society. Well, what should you even
blame Frozen?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. It's like you don't want to blame. It's like, okay, capitalism isn't the problem. To then fill the space of, well, okay, how come everything sucks so bad? With, well, a bunch of French postmodernists got together and changed the content of Disney movies.
It's a reflection of like the most kind of foundational neoconservative, neoliberal idea that there is no society, as Margaret Thatcher put it. Like he's calling on you not to even consider yourself as belonging to a community.
You're a lobster on the bottom of the ocean.
I think Matt, you made the absolute correct observation here. Is that like he's critiquing the sort of activists and people who want to change the world, and this gets into rule number 6. I'm going to skip ahead one because I want to talk about it. He says, "Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world." And I think the point you get exactly right is he's like, don't criticize capitalism, don't criticize injustice, criticize cartoons that aren't as good as they used to be.
Yeah,
like that really is what he's interested in.
The new Laura Croft tits aren't big enough.
So, but the set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Again, there's like a half truth there that I think is applicable, or even a okay criticism of the left. Like, maybe sort your own shit out before you try to take on all the problems of the world. But when he says set your house in perfect order, and then he will say that, of course, people are always imperfect, so then never try.
Yeah.
So it's this constantly receding horizon of things that you can or shouldn't do. And he says, I read something about him where he said, like, the 60s were really bad because they just gave everyone the idea that, like, if you carried a placard, like, you should have something to say, even though you've never been financially independent and you're only a student or whatever. And my answer to that is, like, how much small business experience should I have to have before I can say the Vietnam War was a fucking atrocity? Like, or that segregation is bad and should be confronted
I mean, criticizing someone else's house isn't the only thing you can do. You can also help people set their house in order. Some people don't have a house. You know, the only way he can think about it is we're in these autonomous spheres and we can be critical of each other.
Yeah, that's all we can do. We can't build solidarity. It doesn't exist.
Okay, I'm going back one rule now. Rule number 5 is do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. This is actually my favorite rule.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that was about?
You know, I mean, I'm not a parent, so I don't have a personal relationship to this idea, but how to like raise your kids.
Isn't this the chapter where he fantasized about beating up a small child at a playground?
Oh, yeah.
He has a story about how he was at a playground and there was an obnoxious child who was causing a shenanigans, and he had a fantasy of like kicking the shit out of the kid, and then thought, I wish I could do that, and since I can't, this kid's going to grow up to be
Okay.
an
There's this-
I
I
have the excerpt right
Yeah.
here. He says,
I remember taking my daughter to the playground once when she was about 2. She was playing on the monkey bars hanging in midair. A particularly provocative little monster of about the same age was standing above her on the
2
same
years old.
bar she was
2 years
gripping.
old.
I watched him move towards her, our eyes locked. He slowly and deliberately stepped on her hands with increasing force over and over as he stared me down.
Yeah, but he's being dominant. He's being dominant. That's an alpha move.
Standing up
That's
straight
an
with
alpha
the
lobster
shoulders
move.
back, baby.
What's wrong with that? She's in the space that he's supposed to occupy.
That's his part of the ocean floor.
That's the ocean floor. He's being a lobster. You should high five his little
wait a
ass.
second. I just love the idea that they locked eyes and he's being stared down by a 2-year-old. And he goes,
he knew exactly what he was doing. Up yours, daddy-o. That was his philosophy.
Oh,
His
my-
philosophy. 2 years old. 2 years old. Don't have a philosophy.
Can I just say, what is it with his like rockabilly slang?
yeah, this is a good, yeah. This is
2-year-olds
all-
do
this is a callback.
not have philosophy. They don't even have bowel control.
He had already concluded that adults were contemptible and that he could safely defy them.
Again, he hasn't concluded anything. You don't have thoughts as
Has
2 years
literally
old.
like a 3-word vocabulary.
I love that this 2-year-old has like done the calculation and be like, I think it's pretty safe that I could defy these adults
Yeah.
around me. Very little will happen to me as a
Yeah,
result.
I never-
I've weighed the consequences.
He stepped on the
Hey,
fake.
Dr. Peterson, let's have a discussion about the nature of myth.
Steps on her fingers and looks at him and goes, "You're witnessing a great becoming."
He goes, he already concluded that adults are contemptible and that he could safely defy them. Too bad, then, that he was destined to become one. That was the hopeless future.
Yeah, bitch, you're gonna grow up. Got your ass.
That was the hopeless future his parents had saddled him with.
What, to grow up?
In 2 years.
I give my child anti-aging serum. They've been 2 years old for 3 decades.
To his great and salutary shock, I picked him bodily off the playground structure and threw him 30 feet down the field.
Wait, I think he just punted this kid
Yes,
30
well, he's fantasizing about it,
Okay.
which is totally normal and cool.
No, I didn't.
Oh, here he goes.
No, I didn't. I just took my daughter somewhere else. But it would have been better for him if I had.
It would have been better
Like killing him?
yeah. It would have
You
been
know
better.
what? I was a little piece of shit who had all contempt for humans until a stranger in a public park threw me across a playground. And then my life was great after that. How many life stories include a violent interaction with an adult when you're a small child, and then things just getting great from that point?
That 2-year-old was the dragon, and Peterson was St. George.
Yeah.
And when Baby was also disrespectful, and Peterson just used his thumb to press down on the soft spot on the top of its head, like a fucking like a video game. He was also conquering chaos.
He was about the size of a Koopa, and I just jumped on his head, and the coins of honor and discipline came out of his body. And I got a playground
One thing I
power-up.
remember about this chapter is there's a section called Discipline and Punish, which is literally the name of Michel Foucault's most famous
his
book,
Beth Noir.
which I think he probably doesn't even know that.
Well, he hates Foucault, right?
Yeah, he hates Foucault and Derrida, who he says are Marxists and who he believes
What?
essentially controlled the way the whole world proceeded after the 1960s.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Is a cabal of French postmodern theorists with a combined income of like what, 65,000 francs a year.
Who wrote books most undergraduates don't even read when
Yeah.
they get assigned them.
It's like, you want to fucking talk about logic and reason. What is a more plausible explanation for the course of
Matches through a screwdriver.
of civilization of the last 30 years? The vagaries of global capitalism, i.e. the forces that control the production of everything that we consume and interact with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or a handful of French assholes going to some colleges that most people don't go to, changing the content of Disney films and turning us all into these horrible
The thing is,
postmodern
he
subjects.
didn't make up this theory either. Like, it comes from like these neoconservative think tanks who blamed cultural Marxists.
This is like the Frankfurt,
the Frankfurt
School theory, right?
When they said cultural Marxists, they meant Jews. But, you know, they had this whole conspiracy theory about how Marxism got turned into identity politics, which then took over the world. Jonathan Chait believes this.
Yes, he does.
Among other people. And Peterson just adds this thing where he turns Marxism into postmodernism, even though most Marxists will tell you they hate postmodernism, and people who, I don't know a single person who calls himself a postmodernist,
Yeah.
but people who are into contemporary theory are often very antagonistic towards Marxism.
Yeah.
And
And
people who try to reconcile them
Yeah,
are few and
Marx
far
got
between.
driven out of the academy 30 fucking years ago. You can't get a Marxist interpretation of anything. But the reason that this is even surface level plausible to people is because the neoliberal turn happened simultaneously with the liberation of minorities and women in the West. And those two things one of them kind of cloak the other one. And so people can point to the problem and say, well, look what happened once we got rid of these hierarchies, as opposed to look what happened when, you know, the Western capitalism went into prolonged crisis and it was restructured in a way that radically destroyed labor power and atomized communities and deindustrialized and scattered everybody to the fucking four winds and turned them into eternally precarious subjects who's had no real economic security, no ability to pass on long-term security to their children. That is masked by the fact that, well, yeah, but now there's more women in movies and black people on TV.
Well, a lot of this is coming from people in the center, the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, rewriting that history to the point that, like, you know, the Black Panther Party was a think tank. You know, like they're turning these very radical movements against racism, for feminism, for you know, sexual liberation into just kind of, you know, electoral policy driven, you know, democratic goals.
The Black Panther Party is not a think tank; it is a movie studio, putting out some amazing films that we're all very proud of right now.
Henry, I want a list of every fucking Jew that works at Pixar. All the Incredibles are Jews. They changed their name when they got to Ellis Island.
He would actually like
No, the Incredibles.
Oh, I'm
Incredibles
sure
is
he libertarian.
Loves, yeah, I'm sure he loves.
Is Randy,
yeah.
the movie he really hates is Frozen.
Hates Frozen.
He hates Frozen.
Has anyone here seen Frozen?
I have not seen Frozen. Oh, Chris, you've
has
seen
seen
Frozen? Okay,
Is
what do you hates about?
neo-Marxist propaganda?
Oh, well, what he hates about?
Post-structuralist, right?
Exactly the same frames Christian Andersen, fairy tales, all the other.
But he hates it because it's sort of like a revisionist fairy tale in that, like, the message of the movie is that, like, the princess doesn't need a prince to save her or become self-actualized or something.
Yeah, there's that fucking song about how there is nothing outside the text and gender is constructed.
Well, that's the funny thing is that he's like, yeah, this is a departure from the classic tradition of these ancient folktales, but it's a Hans Christian Andersen thing as much as Little Mermaid
Right.
is. He doesn't
just
know
gets,
that.
He gets so much shit just plain wrong.
Yeah.
Historical facts, sources, citations. I mean, academically, the guy is a total charlatan.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do rule number 7 and rule number 8. I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly.
All right.
Rule number 7: pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient.
Whatever.
Okay.
Okay. Good luck
Yeah,
with that.
all right. Rule number 8.
We've all wrapped up that finding meaning thing in a bow. We can do that.
Rule number
Check that
8.
off.
Rule number 8: tell the truth, or at least don't lie. All right.
Okay.
Again, like, I mean, just
Cool.
Doy.
again, these are like just incredibly pompous ways of restating like incredibly bland, you know, boring truisms. Okay. Rule number 9: assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
That is something he does not do.
No.
That is something I've never seen him do.
Yeah. It's full contempt for anybody who is not on the same on board with this. And his fucking fans now are in this thing where they think he's such a goddamn genius. And I'm honestly convinced it's mostly because we don't teach humanities to kids anymore. This is the first time they're encountering this stuff. Like, I think a large percentage of his fans, they think he came up with all this archetype shit. Like, they don't know who Carl Jung is. You know, they don't even know Joseph Campbell. So they think that he is just like, I went in my room for a while, and when I came out, I had these charts. Like Doc Brown and the flux capacitor.
Dad, I've got an idea.
Yeah. You know, and they don't realize that he's just regurgitating this relatively well-trod territory of frankly discredited psychological concepts.
Rule number 10. Be precise in your speech. Now, this is the rule that Mr. Peterson probably could use to bone up on.
That's the thing, is that like he has this rule, be precise in your speech, but every time you're critical of anything he says, his fans are like, well, you got to watch 10,000 hours of his
that's what I'm
videos
saying. They're now in a situation
before you can legitimately
where they
criticize
think he's such
him.
a fucking genius that anybody who has a critique that they can't answer, they assume, well, it's in one of the things he has said, because he has the whole corpus of knowledge. So it's your responsibility, if you're going to criticize him, to engage all of it. You're not qualified to talk about him unless you have absorbed his entire. And you know what? I'm sorry if it's transparent gibberish. What violence am I doing to myself to subject myself to something?
There was this video that was making the rounds the other day online of him summarizing a scene from Pinocchio.
Yeah.
And the scene was literally 1 minute long, and he spent 2 minutes summarizing it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about like the mythic archetype stuff, because at the end of the day, I think really what he's interested in is cartoons. That's what he loves, talking about cartoons.
Well, yeah,
and reading These are his maps of meaning.
He's a canon pedant.
Yeah.
That's all he is. He has an idea of what a fairy tale is that he thinks is eternal and truthful, very logical and reasonable stuff. And he thinks anything that comports to it is good, and anything that goes away from it is bad. Anything that goes away from it is doing so because it has a political agenda that is not truly artistic. The only way to be truly artistic is to replicate the same fucking tropes that have existed for thousands. There's another video where he's just listing Disney movies, and he goes, Beauty and the Beast, great. They really nailed it. Little Mermaid, nailed it. Lion King, some problems, but nailed it. And
I wonder what the problems were.
He's grading them basically on how they conform to his idea of this canonical fairy tale motif. So he's just a canon nerd at the end of the day.
Kalaloo is an awful little child who I would headshot with no second thoughts.
I agree with you, Mr. Peterson.
He's like Greg Turkington's character on Cinema.
Yeah.
He just loves Hercules, surprisingly underrated. 5 bags of popcorn.
Shrek, lots of great things in there for adults and kids.
Okay, here's this is great. Speaking of cartoons, he has a take on The Simpsons. This was again.
We've been having fun, but I swear to fucking God,
get
dude.
serious.
Yeah,
for
this is the serious shit.
Let's
I don't
get
give a fuck
serious.
about
This
fucking
is
God.
Nathan
I care about the fucking Simpsons.
Nathan Robinson picked this corn kernel out of the shit pile, so shout outs to him again. This is his take on The Simpsons.
Without Nelson, king of the bullies, the school.
He was not king of the fucking bullies.
All right, now I'm
Jimbo.
mad. I've never
true.
really given a shit about this guy. Now I'm mad.
Nelson is clearly several rungs below Dolph Kearney and
Dolph
Jimbo.
Kearney and Jimbo are the
Those
tramps.
tall ships really lifted the nation's
Now
spirits after
we're being
Watergate.
the pedants now. We're being the
Dr.
Simpsons
Peterson, there is only one reactionary I respect. His name is John Schwartzwelder. You will stop butchering his work.
Okay, here he goes.
Without Nelson, king of the bullies, the school would be overrun by the resentful, touchy Millhouses, the narcissistic, intellectual Martin Princes, soft, chocolate-gorging German children, and infantile Ralph Wiggum. Muntz is a corrective.
So his point there is that bullying the weak is that's like another order
keeps things
chaos
ordered. It
symbiosis.
keeps things
that sort of
ordered.
Yin and
everything
yang,
works
man.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
White masculine serpent.
It's like, so those things all have those people, those children all have bad things about them. Mm-hmm. But the bad thing of being a sadist is nothing compared to being chocolate gorged or intellectual.
Oh yeah. Well, how does Jordan Peterson feel about the real life chocolate gorging German child Kim.com?
All right. Last 2 rules here. These are actually, to me, the ones I'm most interested in because I can't figure out what they mean. Rule number 11. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Now, this is a rule that taken at face value, I 100% agree with. I think kids should be allowed to skateboard whatever the fuck they want.
I perform citizen's arrests of children who skateboard all the time. I do think it's a crime.
This is a really rambling, incoherent chapter.
I don't know. I lived for a while. I lived in an apartment building, and there was a fountain in front, and kids would do grinds off of it, and it was really annoyingly loud. I didn't like
Old Man Crispin. Here we go.
This is the chapter where he goes all in on postmodernism, and I completely can't.
What does that have
remember.
to do with kids
I cannot
skateboarding?
remember what it has to do with skateboarding at all. Sorry.
Okay. So kids should be allowed. I think kids need a little bit more freedom, a little less supervision, a little bit more danger in everyday American life. That's generally what I believe. Rule 12. This is the final rule. And again, one that on face value I agree with entirely. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street.
Get parvo.
I got allergies, man. I can't do it.
What is he saying with this? Does he literally mean pet every cat you see?
It's just, it's just stop and smell the roses cliches. It's not,
okay.
it's
all right. Stop and smell the cats.
sniff the cat's asshole.
When you see your friends, taking out their shoes, take some time, suck their toes. Just enjoy life.
So those are the 12 rules. And I guess just to wrap it up here, I think, I want to restate the most salient fact about Jordan Peterson is how unbearably tedious he is as a writer and a thinker. However, the reason for his success and the fact that this, again, pseudo-philosophical drivel is having such its moment in our culture right now is because, as we've stated, the sort of hegemonic cultural and political liberalism has largely failed. And for the young men that he's talking to, nobody in the overall sort of monoculture is talking to them or addressing them. The only people who are talking to them is YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's talking to them through YouTube, and he's telling them a story that makes sense or acknowledges some truths that aren't being addressed or discussed elsewhere that they're not getting. And I'm not saying that he's right, but he's there's enough half truths in all of these things to lard the rest of it and pad the rest of it out.
And it flatters prejudices that they already have. It doesn't really. It challenges them in a superficial way in that they should clean their room or do some
some push-ups or whatever.
Stop gaming every 4 hours.
Just
or
someone's
whatever.
paying attention to them.
Right. Somebody's wants to make sure that they're doing okay.
Yeah.
But in the deeper sense, he's absolutely flattering every lazy prejudice that they just got.
And I want to go a step further because it's not just liberalism that has failed, but I think quite frankly the left has not done a good job or has failed in this regard of, for the most part, telling a story that connects with the lives or makes sense to most people.
Yeah, and I think the story is being told. It just doesn't have the cultural spotlight. It doesn't have the outlet. There's really nobody doing it in a way that is accessible to people.
Right.
Can I pop in with my soft take? This is producer Chris,
by the way, take.
Yeah. So I was watching Queer Eye for the Straight Guy the other night, the new season, which is a very
people are loving it.
Finally, people are loving it. It's connecting with a lot of people, and it occurred to me that the story that it's telling is, or what people take away from it, is basically the same thing as what Jordan Peterson is offering, is that you have these young men who men of all ages who either ground too far into or somehow have jumped the track of the society you're supposed to have. It's dads who are working 3 jobs and only sleep 3 nights, and because of their religious upbringing, marry the first person they met and have 5 kids, and they have no sense of self-identity, or somebody who graduated and wasn't able to find work or place and is unable to struggle in their work life. And you have these people come in and crack open the door and show them a way out of this prison of their constructed maleness in society. That's liberatory in this way, that casts some kind of story about taking control of your life, having some kind of self-respect, and putting shape on this chaotic, often literally messy world, cleaning their rooms. And in this case, it's these gay men who are showing their form of order in the chaos, and it's a more liberatory order. Again, it's cracking open this door and showing them a way out of these prisons. And I just thought that it's such a positive mirror versus this kind of looking backwards, as you said, reactionary, embracing hierarchies thing. It's instead of saying clean your room so that you may embrace the order of classic systems. It's like
he's cracking open the door and saying, like, just become a prince in an ancient monarchy or something.
Exactly. Or like crack open the door and bow down to your ancient rulers.
Yeah.
And
bow down before
yeah.
the one you serve.
I just thought that it's funny that these two things are resonating at the same time, because they're very much the same thing of like order and chaos. And there is a place for like finding order, because modern life is incredibly chaotic, and you can spiral out of control for no reason of your own doing and feel totally out of control of your own life. But I would just say, get a facial scrub and like clean yourself up better, and then maybe feel better, instead of like embracing reactionary mindset about Pinocchio. And also there should be a sixth Fab Five, who is the socialist Fab Five.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that the self-help thing is good to give you a sense that you're in charge of your life. But then you also need to have an understanding of why things are the way they are and how they could change. And that is where socialism comes in.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that's unexamined in the show, why I said there should be a sixth, is that the part of it is helicoptering in $100,000 home makeover that helps redefine these people's lives, and it's really affecting. And like the other thing that I noticed is that Peterson does talk about, he has that thing about like hug your dad or something.
Save your dad.
Save your dad.
Fuck your dad.
Almost every one of these Queer Eye episodes has a moment where one of the guys turns to the subject and is like, so I noticed you have a dad. And the guy just starts bawling. Because either they have not let anybody talk to them about how they relate to their parents, or nobody has tried to. And just that like break in connection there, that there's like a paper thin wall of emotion between them. And even the concept of having a father is another point of resonance that I thought.
So yeah, I mean, like, there's a reason why these things resonate with people on an emotional level. And that's why I think I was thinking about Peterson the other day, and I felt like, when I was in my 20s or earlier, like I feel like sort of at an earlier, more embarrassing stage in my life, like Christopher Hitchens sort of filled that role of like guy who I loved watching video clips of, because I thought he was so smart, and like I loved seeing him like parry a phrase and own people, and like
he's contrarian, he's challenging taboos.
Yeah, exactly.
He seems like someone who has a systemic critique, even if he doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, I loved that. I was always, it was like the idea of being so impressed by how smart and cool like this guy was, and I think that's the way a lot of Peterson's fans respond to him, because that he's this like bearer of like,
I mean, considering that he sounds like somebody's caught his dick in a book, I kind of can't I mean, he is, to me, that's the thing I have the hardest part getting, is how he became a YouTube celebrity sounding like that and crying all the time.
Have you seen the other YouTube celebrities?
I guess.
It's weird how some podcasts, like, just none of the hosts have good radio voices.
Okay.
They have the
none
most
of us have good radio voices
on Patreon.
But none of us.
The show isn't particularly good.
None of us sound like we're weeping Muppets.
Yeah. I just want to come back
to the... That's my real voice. When
I
I'm fucked up, that's the real me.
I want to come back to the intellectual dark web concept. Because I'm just thinking about a buddy of mine who orders pharmaceutical drugs on the dark web. And they come from just like guys who somehow get their hands on these chemicals and have fake molds of the actual pharmaceutical pills and just pack them in there and then manufacture their own pills and send it to you in the mail. And that's just kind of what this book is, really.
Yeah. You mean convenient, great way to get ready for your big cross-country flight.
Free market.
It makes your dick hard.
Yeah, it makes your dick hard. Makes it easier for you to bust with your homies.
Rule number 13, always bust with your homies. Hit the dab on them. You have to do it to them.
So, I think that's it.
Yeah.
This is our
fucking solidarity.
Thank you, Shuja.
You can read my article on Peterson on Viewpoint Magazine.
We will
even though I'm not Canadian, I'm Irish.
Shuja, we will link to your article on Viewpoint in the episode description. And, of course, this is the last show we're going to record before we saddle up our wagon, hitch the old wagon trail, drive some cattle out west. We're going to be out west next week. And just a last reminder, San Francisco, second show. Tickets still available. We want to sell out.
But they're still available.
There's only 5 left.
Can you get them? There's more than 5 left.
No. I want artificial scarcity. I want people.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's go to beers on these ones.
So please, we're trying to sell out both shows in San Francisco. San Francisco, come through. Bay Area, we need you. That's it. Homies, we'll see you at the airport.
Bye-bye.
Shuja,
Bye.
Bon
thanks again.
voyage.